Okay, and improving out your salvation by establishing the reliability of the Old Testament account, of which has your salvation message, because it's intimately connected with the New Testament. One quotes the other and fulfills the other. So if the Old Testament is reliable, then questions about the New Testament. We already looked at the New Testament and the plethora of documents that support its reliability. And now we have the historicity of the Old Testament after looking at other items, including the manuscript evidence of the Old Testament, finding it's really unbelievably reliable. The number of mistakes or copy errors are minuscule in comparison to the total volume of the books of the Old Testament, and they corroborate one another. They don't affect any major or minor doctrine at all. Unbelievable. Most widely attested to by far of any book whatsoever, especially those of ancient history. So the Babylonian captivity, people say, well, maybe this didn't really happen as accounted for in the Old Testament. Maybe just the writers wrote something of their own imagination. Well, various facets of Old Testament history regarding the Babylonian captivity have been confirmed. Records found in Babylon's famous Hanging Gardens have shown that Jehoiachin, king of Israel, and his 5 sons were given a monthly ration and a place to live and were treated well. The name Belshazzar caused problems because there was not only no mention of him, but no room for him in the list of Babylonian kings. However, Nabonidus left a record that he appointed his son, Belshazzar, Daniel chapter 5, to reign for a few years in his absence. Hence, Nabonidus was still king, but Belshazzar ruled in the capital at the time of Daniel 5. Also, the edict of Cyrus, as recorded by Ezra, seemed to fit the picture of Isaiah's prophecies too well to be real. Until a cylinder was found, they confirmed the decree in all the important details. Oh, we just read that and we just took that over and put that in our accounts in the Bible. Not so. Especially when you look at the number of authors over the period of time that the books of the Bible, the Old Testament, were written, and you say, well, this complete and absolute corroboration, this must have to have been related to actual historical events. The Lachish Letters, number 14. William F. Albright, in his Religion in Life article, The Bible After 20 Years of Archaeology, introduced us to this find. We mentioned the new documents from the 6th and 5th centuries B.C., which have come to light since 1935. In 1935, the late J.L. Starkey discovered the ostraca of Lachish, consisting chiefly of letters written in ink on potsherds, pieces of pottery. Together with several additional ostria found in 1938, they form a unique body of Hebrew prose from the time of the exile, which comes from the ration lists of Nebuchadnezzar found by the Germans at Babylon and partly published by E.F. Widener in 1939. Somewhat later, but of decisive value for our understanding of the history and literature of the Jews in the time of Ezra and Nehemiah, are the continuing finds and publications of Aramaic papyri and ostraca from Egypt. 4 large groups of this material are being published, and their complete publication will more than double the total bulk of such documents available 20 years ago. That was back in the late 30s. So, in these letters we find ourselves in exactly the age of Jeremiah, with social and political conditions agreeing perfectly with the picture drawn in the book that bears his name. The Lachish Letters take their place worthily between the ostraca of Samaria and the Elephantine papyri as epigraphic monuments of biblical Hebrew history. These are names of particular documents or objects that are germane to this particular kind of archaeological discovery. So as you do some more research, some of these names will come to bear. R.S. Halpert wrote a survey article on these finds. Lachish, Frontier Fortress of Judah. He goes into the authorship and background of the letters. Most of the best preserved are letters written by a certain Hoshea, a good biblical name, Nehemiah 12:32, and so on. Apparently a subordinate military officer stationed at an outpost or observation point not far from Lachish. 2. Yaosh, the commanding officer of Lachish. That the letters were all written within a period of a few days or weeks is indicated by the fact that the pieces of pottery on which they were written were from jars of similar shape and date, and 5 of the pieces actually fit together as fragments of the same original vessel. The fact that all but 2 of the letters were found on the floor of the guard room naturally suggests that they were deposited there by Yaosh himself upon receiving them from Hoshea. Dating and historical setting. So Albright wrote a special article on this find, the oldest Hebrew letters, Lachish Ostraka, in the Bulletin of the American Schools of Oriental Research, in which he deals with the setting of the letters. In the course of this sketch, it will have become increasingly evident to the attentive reader that the language of the Lachish documents is perfect classical Hebrew. The divergences from biblical usage are much fewer and less significant than supposed by Torshiner. So you always have a critic come along every step of the way. In these letters we find ourselves in exactly the age of Jeremiah, with social and political conditions agreeing perfectly with the picture drawn in the book that bears his name. The Lachish Letters take their place worthily between the Ostraka of Samaria and the Elephantine papyri as epigraphic monuments of biblical history. So some things are written on stone and monuments, others on pottery shards, others on papyri, and so on. Put these all together, and it corroborates the Bible. Hardly anything we find really is something that says, well, no, the Bible isn't real. G.E. Wright, in The Present State of Biblical Archaeology, dates the letters by internal evidence. On letter 20 are the words of the 9th year, that is of King Zedekiah. That is the same year in which Nebuchadnezzar arrived to begin the reduction of Judah, in the 9th year, in the 10th month. This would be about January 588 B.C., the siege of Jerusalem continuing to July 587 B.C. Miller Burroughs, what mean these stones? Agrees with Wright. At Lachish, evidence of 2 destructions not far apart has been found. Undoubtedly, they are to be attributed to Nebuchadnezzar's invasions of 597 and 587 B.C. The now famous Lachish letters were found in the debris from the second of these destructions. Albright sums up the question of the dating of the finds. Starkey has contributed a useful sketch of the discovery, explaining the archaeological situation in which the Ostraka were found and fixing their date just before the final destruction of Lachish at the end of Zedekiah's reign. The facts are so clear that Torshiner has surrendered his objections to this date, which is now accepted by all students. So you get objections. How do you answer it? With details. How do you prove out your salvation? By showing how reliable the New and now the Old Testament is, so that now you get into the details of what the books actually say, verse by verse, and all of a sudden you get people walking away from you that objected to your original point of view. Hardly ever do they agree with you, but thank God for that at times. Old Testament background. Jeremiah 34:6 and 7 reads as follows. Then Jeremiah the prophet spoke all of these words to Zedekiah, king of Judah, in Jerusalem when the king of Babylon's army, fought against Jerusalem and all the cities of Judah that were left, against Lachish and Azekah. For only these fortified cities remain of the cities of Judah. That's from Scripture, 34 of Jeremiah. Isaiah had been in a futile rebellion against Nebuchadnezzar. Judah was not united in this revolt. Jeremiah preached submission, while the Jewish leaders could only speak of resistance. And resist they did, though they were soundly defeated by the powers of Nebuchadnezzar. In the final days of the rebellion, the last vestiges of Hebrew independence were embodied in a pair of outposts, Lachish and Azekah, 35 years southwest of Jerusalem. From Lachish came a series of letters giving a graphic picture of what it was like to be in such a situation. These add greatly to our knowledge of Old Testament background. This discovery is known as the Lachish Letters, or ostraca. The content of the letters and the Gedaliah seal. For sake of convenience, each of the letters was labeled with a number. Halpert gives an overview of letters 2 through 6. Throughout this group of letters, 2 through 6, Hoshea is continually defending himself to his superior, although the charges against him are not always clear. It is tempting to think that he is in sympathy with the Jeremiah faction, which wanted to submit to the Babylonians instead of rebelling, but, of course, we cannot be sure. He then touches on several of them. We have letter 1. Though only a list of names is of striking significance, since 3 of the 9 names which occur, Gemariah, Jazaniah, and Neriah, appear in the Old Testament. Wow! Only in the time of Jeremiah. Wow! A 4th name is Jeremiah, which, however, is not limited in the Old Testament to the prophet Jeremiah, and need not refer to him. A 5th name, likewise not limited to this period, is Mattaniah, which biblical students will recognize as the pre-throne name of King Zedekiah. Corroboration, or what? Letter 3. Halpert continues. In letter 3, Hoshea reports to Yaosh that I'm going to break my mouth. Yaosh that a royal mission is on the way to Egypt, and that a company of this group has been sent to his outpost, or to Lachish, for provisions, an allusion which points directly to the intrigues of the pro-Egyptian party under Zedekiah. Of unusual interest is a reference in the same letter to the prophet. Some writers have confidently identified this prophet with Jeremiah. This is entirely possible, but we cannot be certain and should be careful about pushing the evidence too far. And then the skeptics are right behind you saying, see, you're 1 inch off, so you're totally wrong on everything. That's what skeptics do. They just poke for errors. And even when they are not correct, they destroy everything else. Letter 4. J.P. Free, Archaeology and Bible History, speaks of letter 4, an often mentioned one. In the days of Jeremiah, when the Babylonian Empire was taking one town after another in Judah, about 589-586 BC, we are told in the Bible that as yet the 2 cities of Lachish and Azekah had not fallen. Wow, see? Striking confirmation of the fact that these 2 cities were among those still holding out is furnished by the Lachish Letters. Letter number 4, written by the army officer at a military outpost to a superior officer at Lachish, says, We are watching for the signals of Lachish according to all indications which my Lord hath given me, for we cannot see Azekah. This letter not only shows us how Nebuchadnezzar's army was tightening its net around the land of Judah, but also evidences the close relationship between Lachish and Azekah, which is similarly linked in the book of Jeremiah. Halpert sees it from another angle. The final statement of letter 4 affords an intimate glimpse into the declining days of the kingdom of Judah. Hoshea concludes, Investigate, and my Lord will know that for the fire signals of Lachish we are watching, according to all the signs which my Lord has given us, for we cannot see Azekah. The statement calls to mind immediately the passage in Jeremiah 34:7. Wright adds his view of the reference to not seeing Azekah. When Hoshea says that he cannot see Azekah, he may mean that the latter city has already fallen and is no longer sending signals. At any rate, we here learn that Judah had a signal system, presumably by fire or smoke, and the atmosphere of the letters reflects the worry and disorder of a besieged country. A date in the autumn of 589 BC has been suggested for the bulk of the letters. So, letter 6, Joseph Free points out the close relationship with letter 6 and Jeremiah's writings. J.L. Starkey found in 1935 a group of 18 potsherds bearing on their surface several military messages written on by an army officer to a superior officer stationed at Lachish. W.F. Albright has pointed out, in A Brief History of Judah from the days of Josiah to Alexander the Great, that in one of these letters the army officer complains that the royal officers had sent out circular letters which weakened the hands of the people. The army officer who wrote this Lachish letter used the expression weakened the hands to describe the effect of the over-optimism of the royal officials, whereas the officials referred to in the book of Jeremiah in turn had used the same expression in describing the effect of Jeremiah's realistic prophecy concerning the approaching fall of Jerusalem.